Joining me now is Senator Mark Warner, the chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee. He also serves on the Budget and Finance Committees. Senator, you are uniquely positioned to know whether or not this is going to get done. The CIA Director, William Burns, though, is meeting with officials in Qatar, from Mossad, from Qatar, on further hostage releases and long-term solutions to the war. Should Israel now try to better target their attacks? Should they hold off on wide-scale attacks in the south, where 80% of the Gazan the Gazan population is now in the south. They're all displaced. And especially should they limit their attacks against hospitals when the fighting does resume, as Israel says it will.
Well, Andrea, first of all, I saw your interviews before the break. It's horrible. I was joined so many of my colleagues this morning in watching the videos that I know you saw of the brutal, horrific events of October 7th. And my heart goes out to all those families. I've been personally involved with a family that had lived in Virginia for a long time. The young man who lost his arm, and we saw his image thrown brutally into the truck, and he is an American citizen. He's one of those Americans we need to get back, as well as all the other hostages. But I also hear on a regular basis from Palestinian Americans who've had literally dozens of family members killed in the events since October 7th. So I do think we need our Israeli partners, and they are our partners, to go at if the violence starts again. And I hope that we can keep this pause going as long as possible to get as many of these hostages out as possible. That there are some constraints, because Israel has been losing the hearts and minds of people not only in the region but around the world. One of the things that I would strongly urge our Israeli partners is to release some of the funds that go to the Palestinian Authority. I've been worried, even in advance of October 7th, that you could have the Palestinian security services simply all quit on the West Bank, and you would have chaos at an unprecedented level and a second front start on this war. And the fact that none of those funds and none of these people have been paid since October 7th is a real challenge. That would be a sign of good faith, I think, from Israel. And I do think, I was not at the meeting last night with the IDF leadership, but how they execute, and I understand eliminating the leadership of Hamas, but how they can execute in the south when they've told over 1 million Palestinians plus from the north to go to the south is going to be a huge challenge.
Yeah, and it's the tax revenues, which are supposed to be theirs, which is being held up because they get transferred from Israel to the West Bank. And the West Bank is not inflamed yet, but there have been plenty of indicators that it could be.
Well, you're right. And can I make just one other quick point there? Is right. One of the things that was the fact is, as reservists were called up, the vast majority of the reservists who are now serving in the West Bank are settler families. And, I think the Israeli government has taken small steps, but I think they need to take more steps to make sure there is not unmitigated settler violence and the IDF turning a blind eye to some of the violence against West Bank Palestinians.
There are some signals from the White House that they might accept some conditionality on the Israeli funds. Do you think that's a possibility? Because we do that with other countries. If you're going to use an American weapon, you have to agree to certain conditions.
I think the president has been, forcing the Netanyahu government. And whether those conditions are formal or informal, I'll at this point leave that to where the progress is made. I mean, for example, I go back again to the point we both made about releasing those tax revenues so that you don't have a complete economic and security crisis on the West Bank. That is not in Israel's best interest. It would also be a sign of good faith. So I think there are ways that we can pressure the Netanyahu government, and whether they come in a formal package or informal package, I think we've got a little bit of time to sort that out.